Alex Holmes, Plateau Energy Metals. Before we get started, tell us what your symbol is. What exchange are you on?
We're on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol PLU.
PLU.
Also traded on the OTC in the US under PLUUF.
Tell me a little bit about the company. Your primary focus didn't start with lithium. Where did it start?
That's correct. Actually, the company was founded about 10 years ago in Peru, southeastern Peru, with a uranium project. And over a period of about 8 or 9 years, the project grew in terms of the land mass, and through consolidation and exploration grew to a very large uranium resource.
Right. And I'm not going to pretend to be able to pronounce the name of the project. It's
Macusani.
Macusani, thank you very much. But it's still a part of your portfolio, and you're still moving forward with that, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. It's got a preliminary economic assessment on it that was completed in 2016. So it's a lot of underlying value within that asset. But our shift has happened in late 2017 with a new discovery.
In lithium, of course.
In lithium,
yes. Did that come as a surprise for you?
Yes, I would say it's a bit of skill and a bit of luck that actually ultimately drove us to this point.
So, this is a big find. The name of that project is
probably another one hard to pronounce. Falchani.
Falchani, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you got to get these things straight.
Yes.
But you are down in that part of South America where we know that had been typically or traditionally called the Lithium Triangle, but you're now saying it's the Lithium Cube.
Yeah, it's a four-sided shape.
Yeah, because of the nature of this lithium find that you have. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is actually the only known lithium project in Peru today, and the discovery was made in November 2017, and it's a hard rock project. It's volcanic hosted, and it's called a TUF, which is hardened volcanic ash. Very similar to what the brines in South America people are familiar with, where they get their source of lithium through is water leaching through this kind of a rock.
Yes.
And depositing the water in these basins. In this case, we have something that's just never been water leached before, and it's sitting there in situ as we continue to expand it. What's
the size of the ore body as we know it so far?
Yeah, so we discovery November 2017, as I mentioned. In about 9 months, we took it to a total resource of about 2.4 million tons lithium carbonate equivalent, which is a very common term people refer to. Lithium carbonate trades for approximately $12,000 US per ton, more or less. And
that's
then
at today's prices.
That's at today's prices. And this morning, we announced a resource update, which was our expansion as we started to move to the west, and took it to a total resource of 4.7 million tons.
Okay, so it's a significant...
It's a big project.
Yeah. Very significant. Let's talk about lithium. You talk about the price today. Well, it has more than doubled over the last 2.5 to 3 years in value, and the demand for lithium is expected to triple over the next 9 or 10 years. It's quite an exciting market.
It is. I think the lithium price is really it's a supply agreement, a contract-based settlement market. We have a spot price in China, which really is a very small part of the market. That had a big run-up leading up to the end of 2017, and then pulled back. And today, where we're sitting on the contract market basis, is roughly that 12,000 that I mentioned. The demand outlook is very strong, and there's always been demand for lithium, and mainly, if we look back 5 or 10 years, it was for batteries, for lithium-ion batteries for laptops and smartphones and things like that.
Right.
But this electric vehicle revolution, I would call it, is really starting to take hold. We're still early days on that, but we've got macro government policies all around the world starting to put in place restrictions on internal combustion engine production.
Right. Well, take a look at France, for example. They basically said by 2040, no more internal combustion engines. Well, where are we going to get the materials to build all of those electric vehicles?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the car companies have announced something over $300 billion that they're investing over the next sort of 5 to 10 years to capture that electric vehicle market. So it is coming mainstream. It's getting there. It's not mainstream yet. People think Tesla, but every single car company in the world is moving electric.
Well, in North America, it's my understanding that we're only looking at about 3% of the automobile market that has gone to EV or electric vehicle, and globally we're at less than 1%, not even 0.5%. So the upside in growth on that, with every country around the world saying we want to move to electric-based power generation in automobiles, the market is going to grow and grow and grow and grow. So there is going to be a tremendous demand. When we take a look at Peru and where you're at, what is the infrastructure that you have in place to be able to move this fantastic resource out of there and then to these markets that are going to be global?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, where we're located in Peru, we're about an 1.5-hour flight from Lima, the capital city, and then we're about a 3.5-hour drive up to our project site along a 2-lane paved highway. So access to the project's fantastic.
Yeah.
And that 2-lane paved highway, instead of going north to our project, if you go south, you get right to there are about 3 ports right on the coast, which is really where ultimately the high value product would move through to get to a place where it would go to the cathode processors.
Right. And from Peru, interestingly enough, when you think about where the plants are, moving that product by water to the end users isn't going to be that challenging, is it?
No.
A very interesting strategic location.
It is. Being on the West Coast, I think, is certainly helpful. And I would say 80 to 85% of the lithium processing that gets it ready for the cathode side is in Asia today. And that may change. Perhaps one day we'll see Peru bringing some of that technology to bear in terms of that downstream processing.
Let's talk about Peru as a mining jurisdiction, both from a political perspective and then what is the legislation that's in place that's going to ensure that when we invest in a property in Peru that this is a solid investment.
Sure. Well, mining as a country, the culture is built on, Peru as a country, it's built on a mining culture.
Yes.
It goes back hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mines, some of the biggest copper mines in the world, some of the biggest gold mines. And gold, copper, and silver are certainly the biggest metals that are produced in country.
Yes.
And so when you have that and you have a government that understands the impact that foreign investment has on employment and tax revenue generation and economic development, that's a really good thing, because they recognize that, and that in turn means they're supportive. But you certainly have to do things right, socially responsible way, sustainable mining, and to move things forward.
Well, and part of that social responsibility is your community relations. What are you doing there to ensure that you've got good, solid community relations? Because that is a big part of the overall mix in your project. What are you doing in local communities that are ensuring that you've got those good relationships?
Yeah, well, so I'll answer that first by saying we've been in the area for 10 years, continually working, which means we've been able to build up a relationship over time. And that continuity of our work and working with the communities, and it starts with local employment. It's the milk program at the local school. We bring milk in once a month for the kids to have fresh milk. There's small things like that. I was at site in the middle of January recently, and at the end of a 3.5-year project, it was the grand opening of an all-weather football field, or as we call it, soccer, in North America. And it was such a heartwarming feeling to be there to see. It was the start of a big tournament from 5 villages that are in the area, and so there's a lot of excitement around it. But it was 3.5 years of helping the community build this field. It wasn't just us coming in and building it ourselves.
Or saying, here's a bunch of money, use it.
Exactly. There was some skills that were gained from it, and ultimately culminating in something that we think is going to last many generations from that perspective. And really helping support the youth in sport and things like that does bring communities together.
So let's talk a little bit also about your company. For people who are unfamiliar with you, tell us about the company and your team.
Sure. So, as we said, Plateau Energy Metals listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange Venture Exchange. We have a couple of analysts supporting us today with research out there. Our management team, outside of myself, we have Lawrence Stefan, our co-founder. He's been with the company actually from the beginning, and he brought in the original land package that was the uranium property, and he discovered Falchani. And under Lawrence in Peru, in Lima, we have everybody is Peruvian, from our general manager all the way through the organization, our technical team, our lawyers and accountants. And then we run a fairly lean, from a corporate perspective today, a fairly lean operation, really focusing on moving the company through what we consider our value milestones that ultimately should reflect better value for shareholders.
Where are we at right at the moment, and next steps
Yes, so
for the company?
Today's announcement was big.
Yes.
And you know, and for us, it's not just about being, I think it ranks us about the 6th largest lithium project in the world today, hard rock project.
Wow.
But it's not just about being big, it's about being scalable
Yes.
and flexible. So when you have a mining operation, you want to be flexible because you have various ways you can achieve your operational goals. And then we believe, our vision is, as the lithium demand side starts to really take hold, as the electric vehicle market or anything demanding lithium-ion batteries starts to grow,
Yes.
we're going to get to a point where assets that can scale up and grow and keep pace with that demand growth are going to be the projects that are the most successful. And so that's why we really went to expand it. And then the next few months are about sort of optimized processing routes and PEA. And the PEA is targeted for the end of the first half of this year.
Okay.
So that'll put some economics on the project.
Right. And so as you grow, will you scale up on your own, or are you bringing in partners as well?
Well, I think it's a really interesting industry in how the supply chain needs to work together. And they need to work together, as I mentioned before, the OEMs investing over $300 billion.
Yep.
You go upstream of that, you've got factories building cells and putting together the battery packs, investing over $100 billion.
Yeah.
The lithium side only needs about $24 billion to meet all of what they need. So they need security of supply, they need longevity of supply, and they need volume when they need it.
Yes.
And so that's why when I think about our project, we look at security, predictability, scalability, and in a jurisdiction that people appreciate is a good place for mining.
Well, I think that it's a solid market that's not going away, because the appetite for moving away from internal combustion engine, especially to electric vehicles, and then we've got all the other forms of technology that are still requiring lithium-ion batteries. It's a pretty expansive and bright future for lithium. Yeah.
Indeed.
So you're pretty excited about the future.
Well, I am, and it's unbelievable to see a market that has something like forecasted over 20% year-over-year growth in demand.
Yeah.
You don't see that all the time.
No, you don't. And of course, because it wasn't your initial objective, because you started in uranium, which also has an interesting future, all projected to grow over the next few years, you're in a pretty good position.
We're very happy and committed to moving this forward.
Well, it puts you in that space that allows you to supply green energy needs, both with uranium and lithium.
Yes.
Yeah.
The uranium. I mean, it's. We can't underestimate the value of what it is within the company today, and the importance of the role it has in nuclear energy and this shift to carbon neutral energy sources.
Well, there's 71 new nuclear power plants, I understand, in production, in construction around the world right now. And then there's this whole explosion of micro nuclear power sites as well. The appetite for it, especially in China and India, is expected to grow exponentially.
Yes.
So you're sitting on two very interesting resources.
Very
Thank
fortunate.
you very much for coming in and
Thank you
sharing
so much,
this.
Steve.
Yeah, thanks.